Okay, on that then, I mean, football's all about ambition, and Dave's question was really in the light of the events of the past two seasons, what does Tom now see as sort of good in terms of our ambition for 5 years' time? The usual, where do you expect to be in 5 years' time question, Tom, one I'm sure you're familiar with. So,
Yeah, no, well, first, thank you for the invitation to come here and speak, to be able to speak with you guys. It's been a difficult 18 months for sure. There's been absolutely no ifs, ands, or buts about that. The London Group support has been phenomenal with everything that you just mentioned, John, that you've done for the club, and it's truly recognized. I just want to, make sure everybody knows I feel the pain. I feel the pain and take ownership for it. And while the results have been painful, I do see a bright future. And to get to your question, the vision has not changed. The ownership group is completely committed to Carlisle United. We're not pleased with what's happened the last 18 months, which was part of the rationale for, or the reason for the top to down kind of review of the club, which was desperately needed. But to answer Dave's question specifically, the vision hasn't changed. I mean, I believe the club actually did, unfortunately need a reset because, we could keep pushing in League Two and stay in League Two, but if we really want to get higher, we've got to be focused on some organizational issues that are now being addressed, some infrastructure issues that had, some of it had been addressed and will be addressed and will continue to be addressed, but our vision has not changed. A stable League One club that pushes towards the championship. That's kind of where I see it in 5 years. It's disappointing that we had to take this step back, but we're firmly committed to making the jump. Everybody at the club understands that the goals here are promotion to get out of this league as quickly as possible, preferably in year one. So where do I see the club? League One, pushing towards the championship. I think that's realistic. I think it's reasonable. I think it's achievable, and I think we can get there. But with that, that's the first squad. I mean, underneath that is still, a very strong academy. There's a lot that needs to be done at the infrastructure at Carlisle United. We want to have a club that has a winning culture that basically is basically respected by the community, respected by the players, respected by the supporters, one that we can be proud of. So, there's a lot of underlying areas that we're working on that kind of need to be, I think, addressed, and they are being addressed. But
well, we'll look
specifically,
we'll look at some of those detailed points as we go through,
yeah,
Tom.
yeah, I'm
So,
sure I'm sure there'll be questions coming. Yeah, and rightly so, rightly so. So no issues. But again, just for the overall first squad, for first team, I see a strong League One club pushing towards the championship right there. That I think is a reasonable and attainable objective within 5 years, and it hasn't changed.
okay, thanks. Right, you all heard that, folks. 5 years' time, we'll have him back, and we'll see where he went to.
Yeah.
Okay, so sticking with the sort of communication, communicating with fans theme of the evening, Andrew Hibbs has got a question around the media content provided by the club. And Andy's question is, and I'll read it out rather than paraphrase it. Currently, the media content provided by the club has been at times hit and miss. With such an inexperienced team in this area, have you considered the benefit of appointing a senior media executive professional to lead on and coordinate our online and offline offer? I mean, I think there's been some criticism, certainly back in the last year, about sort of reading the room in terms of some of the media statements that were made, and that caused some, concern. So, Mike,
Yeah,
maybe just
that's a very timely question. Yeah, the answer to that is yes. We are actively in the process of addressing a senior media marketing representative right now. Actively, actually been involved with it for the last week and a half. So yes, we are addressing that. We have as we did, it's kind of as you do the review, of the club, there are certain things that, actually stand out very quickly and we have to address. And we tried to do that immediately on the football side of the operations because we had to keep that going. But there's also some things that needed to be addressed, I would say, on the commercial, on the administrative side that are being addressed, but they're not highlight items. They're things that do take a little time because of just the change process that is required. But the answer to that question is yes. We are addressing a senior media marketing personnel. There is a slight shift that we'll see. It's turning it. The position is basically head of marketing and media. I view media as a channel, as one of the channels, and it's a very important channel to stay connected to the supporters in every way, shape, or form. But we've also, people may not realize this, we have not had a marketing function in the club. And I think that's absolutely critical to tie those two together because when you're trying to get a message out or you're trying to get news out and your things out there, that marketing piece really should be driving it with the media supporting it. So the answer to that question, short, is yes, it's being addressed. It's being addressed right now, and there'll probably be, hopefully, some announcements coming out shortly.
Okay, thanks for that. Christopher James asked, can you please explain the rationale behind placing nearly all the club media content behind a paywall, especially when the exposure and visibility are already fairly limited? Chris says the club's YouTube channel used to be thriving and fans had easy access and engagement. And really, with a lot of the content now behind the paywall and restricted to CUTV, it feels a little bit counterproductive, reducing the reach and alienating supporters rather than building momentum and growing the fan base. So it's really sort of what the long-term thinking is on that media.
Fair question. There's two schools of thought there. There's CUTV basically does help fund the club. I mean, it does help fund the club, and most of the information that's on CUTV is time gated, and it does get released to the general, to the public. So, I I guess when I look at the CUTV right now, I think there's so much more we can be doing. There's so much more that can be available to the supporters or to subscribers for it that is in-depth analysis, things behind what's going on at the club. So I have not been absolutely enthralled with the content on CUTV, and the club realizes that, and that's part of the change on the head of marketing and media that's coming in play. But I think there is a balance. The CUTV does help fund the club, and there needs to be sources of revenue to help fund the club. But I think it's a balance. Some needs to be free and available as well. But the overall, I guess, message I would say there is the content on CUTV has to become much more robust, much more where you want to come home and view it, or you want to be able to log on and view it, and there's sufficient material that things that you would not have seen or we would not know about how the club operates. So that's the push. Is there will be a balance. It is mostly time gated where CUTV will get to see it first and then it'll get released, but it's an important part and it's a revenue stream for the club, and it's needed because long term the club needs to be financially sustainable. I mean, that's our ultimate goal, is to get the club to a point where it is financially sustainable on its own without owner's equity. And I think we can get there, and that's one aspect of it. But there needs to be more robust content on that to make it more valuable and to make supporters, not make, but to have supporters say, I want to subscribe. I see the value that I'm getting. I see the in-depth interviews and different things that we're not getting right now and we've never had in the past is now becoming available. So that ties into the marketing and the media changes that are going on right now as well.
Mm. Yeah, so thanks, Tom. I read Robert Calvert, who says he doesn't live in Carlisle these days, but from a distance, his feeling is that the club is the club is sort of controlling club media and messages out of the club more than they used to in the old days. And he's really concerned that given there's no guarantee we'll get back into the EFL, and having suffered the two relegations. Could you say a little bit more about the relationship with the sort of the other media that operate in Carlisle, the News and Star and Radio Cumbria, and how you get a balance between club media and then the other media's channels that feed information to fans and indeed encourage fans to get engaged with the club? Again, it's that balance, I guess, that you were
Yeah.
talking about.
And we recognize that. I mean, with the News and Stars and the BBC, I mean, there is a balance. Both channels are valuable. Both channels are necessary. I I don't have, I guess, the knowledge of what it was like prior. It is my understanding that, very rarely would there ever be an owner sitting there, talking to the press or talking to a supporters group on a regular basis as we've tried to make ourselves available. So in terms of the transparency and availability of us and saying we want to be able to connect and talk to supporters and we talk to the press, yes, we're trying to do that. So that's a little bit surprising that when we say in the past, because when I remember when I came in, the relationship with the press and the club at that time was not a healthy relationship, and we've made a concerted effort to really try to open that up. It's not perfect by any means. I definitely recognize that, but we are working with those channels, with those the press to basically say, how can we do this? We need each other. I think the press needs Carlisle United, and we need the press as well. So it's balancing that out. But we're working on that and have active initiatives going on with them to address that.
So just to come back really to the start of this section, I mean, I guess this new appointment you're about to make will have a bearing on the way you play that and who's responsible for it as well. Perhaps take some of the pressure off yourself in that respect.
Yeah, I mean, it's I can't, it's hard to underestimate the value of the marketing function that the club did not have. We just did not have that. And to me, the media is a channel. It's a channel to get that message out. But the message has to come from the marketing group and the club as to what we're doing, what our initiatives, or what we're trying to hit, and all that. And so sometimes it's difficult when you just have a media department that maybe focuses on the football because that's what people want to hear, but they're not getting some of the broader messages that the club is trying to do. Because at the end of the day, yes, we want to move up and we want to get to League One and we want to be pushing for the championship, and that's where we want to be in 5 years. But there's an awful lot of other things that are going on around the club that are supporting that sometimes take a back seat. And I think nailing that and getting the right individual for that position that understands how the marketing, the message, and the channels come together, and to get that out and to get that out in a healthy, a good working relationship with the press and others is absolutely critical. So we're very, very focused on finding the right person with the right skill set, with the right experience in both areas that can do that, because we think it's incredible it's required for the success for this to work from a communication standpoint.
Okay. Thanks for that. So that ends that section. So we'll move on now to the next section, which I guess is the key one, given we're a few weeks away from the start of the season. Just talking about the playing squad. The first question on that is from Ken Hullock, who asks, with the signing of Beavis McGarvey, we now have 28 players in the first team squad. That's a big squad, and by Mark Hughes' own admission from his comments last season, is too big. With the number of the squad on long contracts, how concerned are you about the difficulties that can arise of managing too many players and the consequences for the wage bill?
I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not concerned about it at all. We are. Mark has said that the squad was too heavy, and I think the majority of us probably agree with him. We did what we had to try to stay up last the season, but the squad is too heavy. So he has an idea in mind of what he wants for that squad size, and that's been laid out in I guess the squad planning document. I guess the key is it's right now getting the needs, getting the players in is critical. Finding the players that we need to fill the holes, the Regan Lennies, the Morgan Feeneys, to fill the holes and get them in. That's our number one priority right now. As the squad develops and as the squad plays and as playing time starts to become more evident, I think it'll be clear as to what players may want to move on. And there's plenty of time for that to happen. So there is a plan in place to get to a number that Mark has said, Mark Tierney and Mark, this is the right number. It's just the departures are a little bit in the later stages here versus the front side. So I think we'll get there, and I'm not concerned about it.
Okay, I mean, kind of linked to that, really. Howard Atkinson asked a fairly bold question here. Did all the players' contracts last season, players who signed last season and before, have relegation clauses. I think he says that in the light of a recent podcast interview with ex-player Sam Lavelle, who said it wasn't the case. And Liam McHugh sort of added a sort of comment which is relating to that, saying that in a recent interview with John Coleman for the News and Star, Nigel Clibbins stated that fixed costs remain the same with relegation, and he confirmed that relegation clauses were in place in player contracts. So really, the question is, were there contracts in place to insulate the club from the financial impact of relegation that would trigger salary reductions or?
Yeah, I mean, I would say in every contract negotiation we do, there's the promotion and the relegation clauses are included. If for any reason in the January window, if there was any like maybe a specific contract where that could have been a stumbling block, there were other parameters put into the contract to protect the club and things of that nature. But from a management standpoint, every contract that has been reviewed for if we go up, if we go down, to make sure that the club is financially, like I said, stability of the club, financial stability of the club is absolutely critical. So there may have been one, but like I said, other parameters would have been put in the contract to to do adjustments and take care of that. But that's not an area where when I look at that, I'm not concerned about that at all as well. The relegation clauses are in there. The club is sufficiently protected. Um, when I say sufficiently protected, yeah, sufficiently protected, but going from the League Two to National League has other financial ramifications as well that we're addressing at the same time. But the contracts is not an issue at all. Not an issue.
So really, Sam Lavelle's comments weren't correct, is the
Yeah,
short?
I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know I don't know what conversations are going on in the dressing room and what
Yeah.
a word here or a word there, and suddenly it blows up that maybe, hey, everybody has this or that. Every contract is with that player. Every contract is specific for them. The club is fully aware of the ramifications of not having a promotion clause or a relegation clause in there. So in every contract, it is addressed as a critical piece of that contract. It's always pushed to have that in there. But if for any reason there was one or two that there was something that maybe may have prevented it, we put other necessary clauses in the contract to protect the club, and I'm fully confident that we have no issues in that area. No issues.
Right, that's clear enough. Okay, so looking at sort of building the squad, which is really where we should be looking, as you say. Mike Kilner observes that last season we brought in Dominic Sardi and Daniel Adewajayi on loan to Brunton Park from Bournemouth, and certainly we understood at the time that was partly facilitated by the relationship between you and their chairman Bill Foley. Is that an area an avenue we might explore again for loan players once perhaps Bournemouth have decided which players they might want to release into the loan market this season?
Well, first, yes, I would say I thought Daniel and Dominic did a phenomenal job for us as loan players last year. I mean, it was when they got called back, that was like very, very disappointing. But in terms of the is that an avenue we'll explore? Mark Tierney, Martin Foyle, Mark Hughes, they have the lead on all that. That avenue, that channel is completely open and will remain open. I know they're also establishing and creating relationships with other clubs, and so I think it'll be more robust this time. But that completely falls under Mark, Martin, and Mark. It's tough sometimes. Like I say, Mark and Mark twice, but yeah, the three of them
But
have.
you appointed them. I mean,
Can't let a name, if there's the right person for the position, you can't let a name stop it. But no, the three of them have that and are working through it, and have relationships. But yes, that Bournemouth relationship is still there, wide open. If the right player is available, it'll be there. But they're working it aggressively across multiple clubs.
great. Okay. You mentioned actually earlier on, sort of, it wasn't just about the first team squad. It was about sort of the young players in the club. And Shay Jensen Parry asks how high a priority is youth development compared to the success of the first team?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I hope the answer meets his expectations.
Well, he's on the call, so we'll find out.
Oh, well, Shay, I hope it meets your expectations. I mean, you see us making a huge investment in the training center, and that training center, yes, the first team's going to use it, but that training center is all about the youth development and the community centric and being a part of, this club being a community centric club. That's why we chose the sheet mount as the location, and the investment going in there is absolutely critical for the youth development. I mean, I'm thrilled seeing the youth players right now that are in the preseason and playing well for us. That is a absolutely, I believe, a critical path and a critical resource that is necessary if we're going to build a sustainable club going forward. We need to be able to have strong Cumbrians come up through our club, and we need them and their parents to say, look at this facility, look at what's available. This is where I want my son or daughter to train and do what's necessary. And we want to keep them in Carlisle and Cumbria as a whole. So I would hope that the investment that you see that is going into the sheet mount facility is indicative of our commitment to the youth pathway. Just I'm not sure how it really was prior to our ownership, but we now have youth scholars that are on contracts. We have first team pros on contracts, Sam Hetherington, Jake Allen, and others. So we're trying to bridge that gap from the U18 to the men's team, which can be a huge step. So we're trying to make that happen as well. Some of them are practicing with the first team, some are practicing with U18, some will be going out on loan. But we want to make that a critical pathway for us to have players come up and play for the first team. And we're trying to right now get the infrastructure in place, get the facility in place, get that pathway on that bridge area, where it's U18 to making the men's first team available for them, and do that. But absolutely critical. And it's I've been very honest about it. When we acquired the club, I said, I was all about the first team. I was all about the first team, thinking first team, first team. And then as I learned more about the club, a lot shifted to say long term, the academy is absolutely, the most pivotal point to a successful, financially stable club, given the 60-mile radius that we have. So very, very important to us. And hopefully you see that just with the investment that we're making, because yes, it's going to help the first team. But I mean, I think we had our first match, was it last Saturday or the Saturday before, against Middlesbrough, and 400 people showed up. And it was, when I saw the videos on the social media and on CUTV and all that, it was the first one, and I was just like, that's what we want to see. We want to see the community being able to get access to those matches, and for the young players to be able to sit there and play in front of 400. And that was just the start. As they start to realize on Saturdays there's going to be more and more matches there, I think the crowd will grow, and that'll just help, just build that youth, that academy. But critical to us, and we're making the investment. I hope everybody sees that.
Yeah, I mean, certainly sort of supporting the youth team activities on the youth side has certainly been a branch priority over the years in our funding. So, I mean, really, we look forward to, working with you really on that journey, because we can see the importance of that as well. Shay then has the next question, actually, because he asked a question around the squad in terms of injuries, which were a problem last year. That we had a spate of what seemed to be similar injuries. Shay wonders what are we putting in place to prevent this from happening again, or what indeed is already in place that's stopped it happening.
Yeah, the injuries were interesting because, when you compare our club to other League Two clubs, our injuries were not out of line, which I'll be honest with you, kind of surprised me. I didn't have a lot of that, but when I started to look and analyze that, and that was part of the review that we did. I mean, we were going through that because we did have a lot of injury, but our injuries were not out of line with the other League Two clubs. But with that, any injury is not good for the club. So I think, some of that might be, we did all our training on one pitch, by Brunton Park. We're trying to put plans together where the first team can go and play at the sheet mount, or at least train down there as needed to keep the pitches fresh. Sophie has been doing a great job, and Greg Stebbins, of putting the information together exactly where they are, medical and recommendations and all that, which is reviewed weekly with the football team, and we receive a copy of that so we can see what they're doing there. There's been equipment that's been made available, for them for their rehabs that are is available. So I don't think our injuries, while, when you look at some of the severity of the injuries, obviously the Charlie White was a real, that was a real blow to us. Um, I don't think our injuries were completely out of line with other teams, but any injury is going to hurt the squad, and we're doing everything we can, monitoring it, treating it, as what I want to say, treating it responsibly, but as aggressively as we can, so not rushing somebody back, making sure they're fully healthy before they get back on the pitch, not pushing them. And hopefully we're going to see that go down. There's metrics that we've requested that we will be seeing to make sure we can monitor that in as it's going forward. But the management team on the football side of the house is fully aware of, we want to see this, we want to minimize it the best we can. If there's, my last email to them was, what else do you need to keep these players healthy or get them rehabbed as quickly as possible? Please communicate that to me. So, don't ask for the world, but let me know if there's something critical that's missing, and we'll address it. So we're monitoring that and trying to act on that as quickly as possible.
I'm sure that's reassured Shay then. So great, thanks for that. Um, yeah, Dave Brown, him again, asks actually about the ladies' team, which again I mentioned the London branch have supported sort of over the years. I mean, currently the ladies' team's playing at the Crichton. So basically people just turn up and watch, and it's very very low key. And actually, Shay's mum, actually Anna, she's familiar with the setup at Cheltenham. A club of similar size, I suppose, to Carlisle. Their ladies' team plays at their ground in front of 200 people, and they pay £5 each to watch it. So there's commercial income coming through the ladies' team. I just really wondered where the vision sits for the ladies' team, short term, long term.
Yeah, I mean, short term, the ladies team are part of the plans. You're right there that they're currently at Crichton, but I know Tracy has had conversations with Nigel, and we're going to showcase some of their matches down at Sheepmount. So that I think will be a positive. Again, the more that we can have the youth teams and the ladies team, and then even some first team training at the Sheepmount, I think will build that community centric, and hey, I know there's a match going on, I want to get down there for it. So there's plans to have the ladies team playing down there, showcase one or two of their matches. And then as we analyze the usage of the three pitches, because right now we have three pitches that'll be up and running, as we analyze the usage of that, I hope to see more of the ladies team down there. I hope we can make it more accessible for them. I mean, if I had a perfect vision, everything would be co-located down there at the Sheep Mount in terms of training and playing matches for the U18s and the youth and the ladies team. So the more we can get down there, I think it builds pride in the community, builds pride in Carlisle and Cumbria, and then that helps support the club as it moves forward with hopefully new fans. You have young families going down there to watch the ladies play. Hopefully hey, I'm a Blues fan for life now, and they start doing it. So um, I hope to see that, but very supportive of the ladies team, and we should be seeing them playing down there shortly.
Right, good to hear. Okay, so moving on now into sort of, I called it commercial matters on my notes here. First question is from Howard Atkinson, who observes a double relegation has obviously, well, presumably had a negative impact on the finances of the club, and then playing outside the EFL has a further negative impact with the loss of support payments and the Sky TV deal. I mean, Howard's bald question really is, what's the likely cost of a season in the National League? What sort of, black hole does that give you in terms of income that you could have done without?
Yeah, no, it certainly has an impact. If if I looked at the various revenue streams that were coming in and had to try to quantify it, I would say probably roughly £1 million a season is the lack, is the revenue sources that we're leaving. We are focusing on, I think Nigel mentioned, and it was in the review, we have consultants in place on the commercial side. GSW is in there working, and that is definitely proving fruitful in terms of additional sponsorships, additional match day hospitality, and things like that. Certainly not going to bridge that gap. It's not going to bridge that kind of a gap, but it's to me, it's important for the long-term sustainability and of the club. So we have those things going on. We're taking a very close look. The majority of the budget is probably the players and coaches costs. So we have a budget on that we're looking at and trying to adhere to the best we can. But I'll say at the same time, promotion is the goal. I mean, promotion is the goal. So if it's if there's a budget issue and there's we need this for promotion, it's probably going to get approved. But I would say we're looking at roughly £1 million of lost income, and as an ownership group, we were aware of that as we were going through the process, and unfortunately, we're willing to fund that. We're planning to fund that. So it's very clear, our long-term plans and visions for the club have not changed. Our commitment to the club has not changed in any way, shape, or form. The financials have changed a little bit. Most of that will probably be on our shoulders, and I accept that. But answer your question, short, probably £1 million of lost funding. Owner equity will, anything that we can't look through efficiencies or through additional sponsorships, hospitalities, and things of that nature, which we have programs going on, will be funded by the club, but be funded by the ownership group moving forward.
Yeah, I mean, so this is my question I've just made up now, but presumably, if we have a successful season and we're getting 10,000, 12,000 gates, that'll start making a bit of a dent into that £1 million gap, won't it? If you've
Oh,
modeled, yeah,
yeah. I mean, John, most definitely. It was absolutely, we felt it at the Salford match to have 8,200 in the stands when we were already relegated. I mean, that was a statement from the supporters, and it was heard. It was certainly heard. Because they didn't have to be there. We were already relegated and they didn't have to be there, but they showed up and they supported the club. And if anything, that made our commitment just so much stronger. My goal is, or our goal is, we want, to really move, to League Two, League One, and vie for the championship. We need stronger gates, but before we get there, we've got to get a winning product on the field. The supporters have been absolutely fantastic. I cannot ask anything more of them, but if we could get 10, 12,000, that would be huge. It would make a significant dent in that. And I would love to see that happen. I would love to see that happen because supporters and new supporters want to come to the grounds. They want to be there. They want to be at away matches. They want to be at the grounds and say, it's not about, hey, let me help maybe fund help shore up the shortcoming of revenue. It's more, if we can get them there saying, I want to be there. That's the place to be. You can take you can take your family. The families, the fun zones there, the fan zones there. There's a lot to do on the grounds that day, and if we can push that number up, that's ultimately my goal. I mean, I would love to see 16,000 in that stadium on that grounds, and just a rocking crowd. And I'd love to see the opposing squad show up and just say, what have we got ourselves into? I mean, how are we going to play here? This is unreal. So that's certainly the goal. And any ticket sales will help that, and is greatly appreciated.
Andrew Hibbs asked a couple of questions, one of which, when you were telling us about the new appointment you're about to make, covers his first question. His second question is a bit more detailed, and I'll just ask it in case it's still valid. He says the current club website states that the role of facilities manager is vacant. Is that still the case, or is that wrapped up in the marketing?
No, the facilities manager right now, that role is vacant and is remaining vacant right now. We have the resources in house to cover that,
Right.
and we have allocated some resources to doing that. Long term, whether that position gets filled again, we're going to take a look at it. But short term, we have the sufficient resources in the house that we've basically shifted part-time over to that and said, take care of the facilities for us. We without Brunton Park, we can't play. So we know we have to keep that up to speed.
Okay, right. Dave Brown, it's him again, asks sort of what are you've had the consultants in GSW and others. So really he's asking what are the commercial and operations areas that they advised you can make the best, the best progress on, where you can get some, quick wins, I guess is what he
Yeah,
meant.
I mean, they've been focused for us mostly on the commercial, the sales, and the media. That's the area that they've really been focusing on, and just trying to modernize that aspect of it. They've done a phenomenal job, and they're laying out. What we're asking them to do is put the processes in place for us, some of the collateral and things of that nature, because we don't have that chief commercial person right now. We do not have the head of marketing and media in place right now. So let's bring them on. Let's have them analyze, that segment of a business, the commercial, the media piece, find out where the shortcomings are, start putting processes in place that can help us achieve, higher revenue, match days, whether that's sponsorships, whether that's hospitality, whatever that might be. And then hopefully, as we fill these positions, that will be turned over to these new positions to say processes are in place, metrics are in place. Let's go ahead and move forward. So that's the area they've been focused on, mostly commercial, hospitality, ticketing to a degree, sponsorships, media, that aspect of the business.
Yeah. Dave had a sort of supplementary around that, which is, so do you see growth in support and revenue from the USA as an aim? Do you still have
I,
ambitions there?
yes, that's, I will certainly say it's taken a little bit of a back seat right now. We would like to get Carlisle over to Jacksonville, Florida for preseason, some friendlies and things of that nature, but it definitely took a back seat. We do have, there are supporters groups that
Yeah, I mean
are
Dave's been in touch with them. I guess that's why the question comes
Yeah,
really.
so there has been some growth there that we're seeing. We're here in Jacksonville. We're certainly seeing it with the Noel Soccer Foundation up in the Philadelphia, New York, New Jersey market. They have an initiative going up there, but the the as we move up the pyramid, that becomes a more realistic and
Yeah,
achievable objective for us to do. So I would say yes, it's on our radar, but right now it's not on the front burner. It's on the back burner, saying, "Listen, we got to get this football right. We need to get this club back to the EFL as quickly as possible. Hopefully this year, and then keep it moving up, and then those opportunities might be there for us."
sure. Final one on the commercial matters is a question from Simon Clarkson, who you may have heard of. He asks, are there any developments on stadium naming rights? I think that got mentioned at some point last year, but again, perhaps it's a marketing role person thing.
Yeah, no, I mean we're looking at that, and I'll say there has been some discussions. That's a it's an opportunity for the club, but it has to be with the right partner. It has to be with the right corporate sponsor that kind of represents the values and everything that the club does, and preferred maybe to be a more of a local or regional sponsor. So yes, that's being looked at. It's being discussed, but there is nothing imminent at this point.
Okay. Okay, moving on to just one little sort of important area, really, in terms of kind of people being able to see the team and engage with the team, is sort of TV coverage. And clearly, going down from the EFL into the National League has changed the way that we are broadcast as a club. So we're now in the hands of a firm I'd never heard of, called organisation I'd never heard of, called DAZN, DAZN from your point of view. One of the impacts appears to be that they can, and this is something Nigel has talked about with fans groups recently. with CUSG is the fact they can move fixtures really quite at quite short notice. Um, I mean, are you aware of that as an issue for fans in terms of, relatively short notice of the fixture being
Yeah.
moved from, a 3 o'clock kickoff to a half 5 kickoff, or indeed moved from a Saturday to a Tuesday night or a Wednesday night or something?
Yeah, no, I'm fully aware of that, and that presents a huge issue for fans, supporters, and quite frankly, it provides an issue for myself when I'm over there. With the changes
Yeah.
that can that occur, and then the train schedules and the reliance on this train. I believe they have to give us roughly 4 weeks notice. Um, I'm fully aware of the inconveniences this causes. But we're gonna work with them as best we can. This is just me talking, not, but I didn't hear it from anybody else. Unfortunately, Carlisle United with a big name might be a one that they want to shift more to
Mm.
get more coverage on. I mean, it's a pro and a con. But that's it. No, nobody said that to me. It's just something that I'm thinking in my head, saying, I can see Carlisle United getting shifted to prime time spots quite frequently. So we realize the inconvenience that causes with travel schedules and planning. We're going to work with the National League and DAZN the best we can. I believe it's 4 weeks notice, but the more we find out about that, we'll share it with everybody.
Right. So, is the club now sort of engaged in the right processes within the National League? I mean, have we got reps in the right on the right committees, or however the National League operates? I mean, are we going to be sort of asserting our uh, expertise and experience in that National League? Um,
The communications with the National League has been predominantly right now handled by Nigel and
yeah,
Suzanne,
sure.
and they're content. They're working that. It is a new frontier for us. It is a new it's a new complete processes. Everything is slightly different. I know they are working to get it integrated to make sure we get all the information as possible, but that's probably a question that's best for either Nigel or Suzanne.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some useful conversations recently around, ticketing arrangements, which it seems to be a bit of a wild west in terms of what clubs can and can't do, in contrast to the sort of fairly standard procedures in the EFL. So that's certainly been a challenge for Terry McCarthy, our hard-working ticket organizer. Um, Sticking with the sort of travel thing, Howard Atkinson asks a question around sort of coach travel for fans to get to games, particularly if we're going to get games moved to evening fixtures where the trains don't provide us a way of getting home. Um, the Carlisle United away travel group are planning to run a single coach this season. Has there been any thought to the club running coaches to high demand away games, middle of the week, particularly where there's an issue with public transport?
Yeah, I'm aware of the away travel and the away travel group and what they're putting together. I know that we're having conversations with the supporters trust and specifically Matt Spooner to see if they can help fill that void to provide more access to the away matches or the
Mm.
transportation to and from. So I know that that discussion is ongoing between the club and the supporters trust to see if they can help fill that void. Other than it being mentioned as what can we do, and they're actively working, I don't know what the exact solution is at this time, but
Yeah.
but it is being addressed.
But presumably, as somebody who's got reasonable experience in logistics, it wouldn't be beyond your capacity as an organisation to intervene and actually get involved in directly providing
Yeah,
travel.
I will tell you this. I am finding there are some significant differences between the UK and the US in certain areas. So
Yeah.
I would not want to jump into the logistics or transportation in the UK right now without understanding all the laws, the regulations, and things of that nature. So
There's
might be
many
an
of them. That's
might
right.
be an opportunity down the road, but as of right now, yeah, I'm not jumping into that.
Okay. So not that stupid then, right? Good. Really, we're getting into some of the details around facilities. A couple of questions on Brunton Park. One of which, actually, I had personal experience of the dugouts at Brunton Park. There was some talk last year of replacing them, and Andrew Hibbs has asked, is there any update on replacing the dugouts at Brunton Park?
Yeah, the that is an initiative that is being looked at. It right now it has been put on hold. I've actually seen the plans and the design for it. It's something that Patty and I have pushed for, saying, we've we went down there and sat in those dugouts, and I don't know how the players do it. You got to duck down and you're going to hit your head. I mean, it's like, so I was like, can we leave the away dugouts that way and just do ours, and that's a no-go. But it's something it is something that we want to get done, but as of right now, it's been put on hold this year. We have other capital projects that are going on that we haven't broadcast much about. We purchased another property on Warwick Road that is being uh, remodeled right now, and there'll be some uses for the players in that area. We have contractors in there, and the redoing the Foxy's. I think it's the Foxy's in the 74, 75 lounge bathrooms, which has been the number one
Yeah.
complaint from supporters. So we have that ongoing as well. We just haven't we really haven't I guess communicated or marketed that well, because it's just been a little bit of, there's been some, hey, we're not interested in that. Just get the football operations right. So there's been a piece of that we've said, listen, this infrastructure still needs to be improved, and we're going to do it, but we're just going to do it on a quieter scale, is because both can, as I've always said, both can move forward concurrently. It's not like the football operations are impacting the infrastructure improvements or vice versa. They're separate budgets. But we have some things going on there along with the sheet mount in terms of the capital, but the dugouts right now are on hold and will probably, hopefully, be up, addressed next season.
Yeah. Sam Clarkson asked a question around sort of the back, really the back of the Warwick Road, and saying, are there any plans to purchase more of the properties on Warwick Road so as to, for example, increase the size of the Blues store or improve the access across the rear of the Warwick Road end, um, for fans moving between the west and east stands. Perhaps it links to what you just said there
If
about.
I say yes to that, the price the prices on those properties will skyrocket right when I say yes to that. So
Okay, right.
I'm not gonna I'm not gonna say yes. But
Stop the tape. Stop the
yeah,
tape.
yeah, no, no. You know, I think most people are aware. So since we've been there, we had two properties, 257 and 269. Since we've taken over, we've purchased three more properties there, and the last one that we purchased is, I believe, 275, which is the corner one going into the by the road on the east side of the stadium.
Yeah.
Uh, we're very close to having that. Yes, you can walk around. I believe, yeah. I mean, Simon, don't we have full access now? I mean, couldn't we actually, are we cut off by one
You're on
area?
mute, Simon.
I'm gonna throw that question back to you, Simon. Where do we stand in terms of having access? We're very, very close with the long-term goal is, yes, we want to be able to come in and buy the blue store and then go right all the way around and have a complete circle walking within the stadium. That's the ultimate goal. I think we're very close, but there might be
Yeah,
one
yeah.
thing
I
that.
mean, I think my understanding is you could do it, but you'd have to come through the fan zone, and that would then create problems with access to the Warwick Road end and the use of the fan zone. So
Yeah.
um, it's certainly, if you have all the properties on the front, yeah, absolutely. It's in part it's a safety issue. I know I'm continually seeking to direct fans who are enjoying themselves in the fan zone and then need to get to the east stand, either home and or away fans. And of course, every time I'm pushing them back out onto an already busy main road, it seems, yeah. So certainly from a safety point of view, it would be great if fans can walk safely within the stadium bowl and transgress, move between east and west or west and east.
Yeah. So long term, John, that's something that yes,
Right.
we would like to get to. We're working towards that. But just from a business perspective, we won't overpay
Yeah.
for properties or anything. So if they become available at the market price that we think is fair, we'll certainly take a look at them. I think we've shown that by purchasing 3 of them so far. But we're waiting, and that'll play out with time. But that is our goal, to have that to be, you can do a complete walk around the stadium.
Great. Okay. The final two questions that were submitted relate to the sheet mount. I sort of thought we could start with what would be a positive story. Howard Atkinson just asked a question, sort of in terms of the site itself. Do you still believe it's the best site, bearing in mind the fairly recent soil erosion on the riverbank adjacent to the changing rooms? Did that give you cause for second thoughts, I guess, is Howard's.
Yeah, I mean, we took that into consideration when we made that choice. To us, the overriding factor was the training center needs to be community centric, and it needs to be where it's accessible to all within in Carlisle. So that was the number one priority. The erosion we're working with city council on and things of that nature. You've seen some of the repairs that they've done there. I'm very comfortable that that is the best and the optimal site for the training center. It became even more evident to me when I saw the Middlesbrough match and the U18s playing there, and see all the cars parked. Well, they're parked on the 3G, which eventually that won't happen, because we're going to hopefully replace that with an actual pitch there. But to see that, and to see the activity, that is to me the vision of a community centric football club. And so I believe that's the right location. I believe the elevation on that upper plateau is sufficient for us. I mean, we live in Florida. Hurricanes are a way of life here, and you can't run from water. You can't let it stifle your plans for the future. And I'm a firm supporter. We looked at multiple sites, but a site 20 miles outside of Carlisle, to me, it's not conducive to what a community centric football club should and can be. And so, yes, there are risks there. I'm comfortable with the risks. I believe we'll be okay, and I believe it is by far and away the right choice. And we just have to construct it properly and protect it properly. But I believe it's by far and away the right choice for the training facility for the club.
Yeah. So I mean, really linked to that, Paul Irving gets the final question really, which is really how close are you to doing the sort of the long-term lease deal with the council that will enable you to kind of fulfill that vision?
I can't put a timeline on it. The council and our advisors are working hand in hand. I would submit to you, by the fact that we've invested capital already and have 3 pitches up and running, that I'm optimistic that we're going to get this done, or I would have never done that. But to put a timeline on it when it's something that's outside of my control would be a little bit of, yeah. I just don't want to do that. I'm very comfortable that it will get done. I'm apprised of what's going on with the council and our advisors, and all the meetings that are going on, and they've been very, very optimistic and moving forward. I think everybody sees the benefit. I think as the community or the council sees more and more community centric events down there being held on those pitches and doing different things, I think it'll become even more where it's like, this is by far and away the right thing to do. I mean, we're not looking for an exclusive facility where this is just Carlisle United, nobody else gets to touch it. We're looking for a shared use facility that's again community centric. And so I'm confident that will happen, and every indication that I have right now between what the council is doing and what the advisor is moving in that direction. I just can't put a firm timeline. I have an idea as to when I think it might happen, but I don't want to put it out there in the public right now, because as soon as that day passes and it's not done, I'll be flooded with what happened, and I'm comfortable that we're going to get it done.
Yeah. When we spoke about a year ago, and I think you mentioned Fleetwood as one that you'd seen that
Yeah.
was kind of the vision you had. I mean, obviously you saw a few more grounds last year as we went round the season. Is the kind of vision, the content plan still much as it was? Are you still clear are you clear now what you want and how you want it to look and feel?
Yeah, I am. I mean, there is there was one argument that said, no, this needs to be exclusive use. This needs to be Carlisle United exclusive use and things of that nature. And we got to have fences up and everything. Nobody can see the first team training and all that. And to be honest with you, I didn't agree with that approach. I'm like, I think, this is a community centric club. Therefore, we need to make it accessible and everything. So I like what I saw down at Fleetwood, and I've seen some other training facilities as well. But I thought they had a real good balance there with what they did. So my vision hasn't changed, is that it should be a shared facility. It should be, a shining light for Carlisle. It should be, it should stand out. People should see it. People should want to come be there when there's an activity going on, or at least have access to it. And I think that's good for the club. I think it's good for the community. I think it's good for Cumbria as a region. So I'm committed to that shared use facility where, it's, the first team, and there will be some, this is priority. This pitch may be set aside for certain things and not to be used, where the other pitches can be used for certain things. But I think there's a real good balance to strike there, and I think we can do it. And I think it is good for everybody.
That's great. Thanks. How about that? Spot on 8:30.
Okay.
Just in time. What I was going to do, I was going to give the final word to Brian Donaldson, who's, as I understand, has been a member, has certainly been involved with the club a long time. And then I'll perhaps give you just a few moments, Tom, if there's anything else you wanted to say, just by way of, encouragement for the season to come. So Brian writes, and I think a few of us in the room can kind of associate with this. Brian says, this coming season will represent my 80th as a Carlisle United supporter. My dad took me down to Brunton Park in 1946 when professional soccer resumed at the end of World War II. I was 6 and I was hooked. Loyalty or lunacy or both, answers on a postcard. And that's Brian, age 85 and a half. And what he then says, which I think is kind of where we started, the last 2 seasons are the worst period of decline that I can remember in those 80 years. Sorry, Tom. That's what Brian says. And he says,
Thanks, Brian.
but what was amazing was the loyalty of the supporters home and away during those 2 seasons. And I think we've reflected that as we've chatted this evening. So we're all mad, I suppose, is the conclusion we draw. So yes.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I would say to that, well, Brian, thanks for the feedback, and that statement, you're the reason, you're the soul of the club, and that's the reason why we came in and wanted to acquire Carlisle United, is because of that support and that passion. And so while I hate to hear that feedback, I acknowledge it, but I think it's more important, your loyalty and other supporters' loyalty to the club is one of the driving factors why we chose Carlisle United. And I just hope that while this has been painful, and I want everybody to know this has been very painful for us as owners. I mean, this has not been an easy. This is not something that I'm accustomed to, and I'm learn. We learn from it. We're going to come back, but I guess my key, D. Brian, is, as an ownership group, we're as loyal to you as supporters and you as a club as you have been to the club for 85 years. And that is one of the key reasons that I think Carlisle United is different. I think Carlisle United, when I see that away support, and when, I know we're going to be making quite a few trips down to London, so I'll probably be seeing, quite a few of you. I hope to be seeing quite a few of you this year. But that support and that passion that you just expressed in that statement is one of the reasons why we chose the club. And I just want you to know, Brian, we have that same passion and loyalty to it. So while this has been a rough 18 months, we're gonna climb. The vision hasn't changed. We're starting to put a lot of the things in place that need to be in place to really be a sustainable, higher level club. And I, there's a difference between, while this has been painful, there's a difference to be, you're always fighting to stay above the relegation spots in League Two, to you don't even worry about that anymore. You're fighting for League One and you're fighting for championship, and that's the space that you're in. It's a different animal. We're committed to getting there, but your loyalty, while I know I've let you down, it's noted. I appreciate the feedback, and I just want you to know, from an ownership group, you have our loyalty, you have our commitment. we will get the club there together collectively. We will get the club to where the club rightly should be. And that vision, that passion from both sides, supporters. I know it hasn't changed because I've seen it. I've seen it with the ticket sales. I've seen it with the what we had at the last match. But just know that it hasn't changed from our end. You're going to get 110%. It's a passion that quite frankly, spending more time on it than I thought I would, but I love it, and I'm committed to it, and we're committed to it as a family, and we're going to get there. And just stick with us, Brian. There are brighter days coming. There are brighter days coming.
I think there's a few of us spend more time on this than we thought we than we thought we would as well. But there you go. So
Yeah.
thanks for your time, Tom. Nice to see other members of the Piatak and Dimasi families on the call. I hope they've been reassured that we still want to see the club prosper as much as certainly at least as much as you guys do. So thanks for your time tonight. I don't know, Simon, if you wanted to say any
Yeah,
final
John.
words, but.
Yeah, John. There's a couple of quick questions been dropped in the chat, both
Okay.
from both from
Are you okay for time, Tom? I'm conscious we've gone past the hour.
Yeah. No,
Yeah, they're both very quick, and they're both from Mike Kilner. Tom, you've already mentioned that you're heading back to the UK on the 7th. You're here for the whole of August. Mike says, any chance of a fans forum in August? Is that something you're up for doing during this first visit back?
I mean, I would. Isn't this similar to a fans forum?
Yeah, it's just a small selective audience, but yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, it would be wider. Obviously, we'd get probably Mark and Nigel involved. So, okay,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, no, I mean, we can toss that one to Nigel, and
yeah, yeah. The
if that's
the
something that
senior
can be
leadership team
facilitated. I
can
certainly would participate if there is one. I'm just,
yeah.
I'll wait to hear from them.
And Mike asks, are you happy for the points, the chat, things that you've said tonight to be discussed on forums, or is there anything that you've said that you would rather wasn't disclosed? Has there been any content tonight that you would prefer participants not to repeat?
Simon, I don't think there was anything confidential
No.
that I released, and yeah, anything controversial. Everything that at least I said, I spoke from the heart and what I mean,
Yeah.
and what I feel and where I want to go, and what I want, where I want the club to go. So no, I don't have an issue with it. It'll be interesting to see what the feedback is once it gets out there. But I've learned to stay off that social media stuff, so I'm not listening to it. But no, I don't have an issue with anything.
Great, thank you. Yeah, and that's all that was in the chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, I would just say, guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate you being here. I appreciate your support. We will get there. You have our support. We're focused. We will get there. I'm very pleased with what I see occurring at the club right now. I'm very pleased with the squad that we're assembling. The chemistry that's occurring right there is very, very important. It's something that I think was lacking a little bit last year that I see coming together. And I think the future is bright, and just know that you've got our commitment, and hopefully, whether it's Woking or Willstone, I'll get to see some of you guys. We'll be down there in the London area, and hope to see you guys.
Yeah, I mean it's a London branch bonanza in August with all those games down in places beginning with W. So yeah, we'll certainly see you at Woking. Yeah, thanks again for your time. I say, given a lot of people are on mute, if we did a round of applause, it would sound really rather poor. So we won't do that. I can see messages popping up saying thank you, Tom. So I think we'll just say, I'll say collectively thank you, Tom, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time.